In the shadowy corners of forgotten towns, where the fog clings to the streets like a ghostly shroud, there exists a world where strings pull more than just puppets. Welcome to the eerie tale of the Invisible Puppeteer, a story that will unravel the chilling mystery of marionettes and the dark forces that control them. Our journey begins in the small, fog-drenched town of Ravenswood, a place where whispers of the past linger in the air and secrets are buried deep within the soil. Here, the Marionette Theater stands as a haunting relic of a bygone era, its stage silent but for the faint creak of wooden limbs and the rustle of unseen hands. Enter Detective Eleanor Graves, a woman whose sharp mind and unshakable intuition have led her to the most macabre of cases. Drawn to the strange and the unexplained, Eleanor arrives in Ravenswood to uncover the truth behind a series of unsettling events that seem to revolve around a cursed marionette theater and the children who have vanished without a trace. As the fog thickens and the shadows grow longer, one thing becomes clear. In Ravenswood, the strings of fate are not always in our hands. Stay with us, for the mystery of the Invisible Puppeteer is about to unfold, and the truth may be more terrifying than you dare to imagine. Now turning to the curious arrival of Detective Eleanor Graves in Ravenswood, the town seems to hold its breath as she steps onto its cobblestone streets. The air is thick with unease, the kind that makes you feel as though the fog itself is watching. Summoned to investigate the disappearance of a local child, Lily Harper, Eleanor quickly notices the townsfolk's wary glances and hushed conversations. Their eyes dart away when she approaches, as if they are guarding secrets too dangerous to share. At the edge of the woods, the abandoned Marionette Theater looms like a forgotten nightmare, its once vibrant facade now crumbling under the weight of time and neglect. The theater's doors creak open with a groan, revealing a stage shrouded in darkness, and there, hanging from the rafters, is a marionette, its wooden face eerily resembling Lily Harper. The strings sway gently, though no hand is there to move them. A chill runs down Eleanor's spine as she realizes this is no ordinary puppet. The strings seem alive, as if guided by an unseen force. The first clue has been revealed, and it's clear that whatever happened to Lily is tied to this cursed theater. As Eleanor steps closer, the faint sound of laughter echoes through the empty hall, a reminder that in Ravenswood, nothing is as it seems. Now turning to the Marionette Theater, Detective Eleanor Graves steps inside, her footsteps echoing through the cavernous space. The theater, once a place of wonder and applause, now stands as a hollow shell of its former self. Dust clings to the velvet curtains, and the air smells of damp wood and decay. Rows of lifelike marionettes line the walls, their glassy eyes staring blankly into the void. Each puppet is meticulously crafted, their faces so realistic they seem almost human. Yet, there's something deeply unsettling about them, a stillness that feels unnatural, as if they're waiting for something or someone to bring them to life. The theater's history is as murky as the fog outside. Decades ago, it was run by Victor Blackwood, a puppeteer whose skill was matched only by his eccentricity. He vanished without a trace, leaving behind a legacy of whispers and unanswered questions. Some say he was a genius, others a madman, but all agree that his disappearance marked the beginning of the theater's decline. As Eleanor moves deeper into the building, she can't shake the feeling of being watched. The marionettes seem to follow her with their gaze, their strings trembling faintly, though no breeze stirs the stale air. Her investigation leads her to the townsfolk, each with their own story to tell. Among them is Mr. Harold Finch, the reclusive caretaker of the theater. A man of few words, Finch's presence is as shadowy as the building he tends to. His knowledge of the marionettes is extensive, but his answers are cryptic, laced with warnings about the invisible puppeteer. As Elena presses him for details, she senses he's hiding something tied to the theater's dark past. The deeper she digs, the more she realizes that the marionettes are not just puppets. They are pieces of a puzzle, one that leads to a truth far more sinister than she could have imagined. Now turning to Harold Finch, the reclusive caretaker of the Marionette Theater, Detective Eleanor Graves finds herself face to face with a man whose presence is as enigmatic as the building he tends to. Finch's gaunt frame and hollow eyes suggest a life marked by hardship, but it's his knowledge of the marionettes that draws Elena's attention. He speaks of them with a mix of reverence and fear, his voice trembling as he recounts their history. Each word he utters is laced with cryptic warnings about the invisible puppeteer, a figure he claims still haunts the theater. Finch's behavior is suspicious, to say the least. He avoids direct answers, often deflecting questions with vague statements or unsettling anecdotes. When pressed about the disappearance of Lily Harper, he grows visibly uneasy, his hands fidgeting with the frayed edges of his coat. He insists that the marionettes are more than mere puppets. They are vessels, he says, for something far darker. His warnings grow more urgent as the conversation progresses, leaving Elena with a growing sense of unease. As the investigation deepens, Elena discovers a hidden room tucked away in the theater's labyrinthine corridors. The air inside is thick with the scent of sawdust and old paint. Rows of unfinished marionettes line the walls, their faces eerily lifelike. Each one bears an uncanny resemblance to a child's children who, as Elena soon realizes, were reported missing from Ravenswood over the years. The discovery sends a chill down her spine. These marionettes are not just dolls, they are memorials, or perhaps something far more sinister. Finch's connection to the room is undeniable. Tools and sketches scattered across the workbench suggest he's been working on these marionettes for years. But why? And what role does he play in the disappearances? Elena's mind races with possibilities, each more troubling than the last. Finch's warnings about the invisible puppeteer take on a new weight, and Elena begins to suspect that the caretaker knows far more than he's letting on. As she leaves the hidden room, Elena can't shake the feeling that the marionettes are watching her, their glassy eyes following her every move. The theater, once a place of wonder, now feels like a trap, its secrets closing in around her. With each step, the mystery deepens, and Elena realizes that the truth she seeks may be more dangerous than she ever imagined. Now turning to the legend of the invisible puppeteer, Detective Eleanor Graves begins to piece together the fragments of a story that has haunted Ravenswood for generations. The townsfolk speak of a spectral figure, a shadowy presence said to control the marionettes with an invisible hand. Whispers of the legend echo through the foggy streets, each tale more chilling than the last. Parents warn their children to stay away from the old theater, claiming that the invisible puppeteer lures the young and curious into its grasp, never to be seen again. As Elena delves deeper into the mystery, she finds that the legend is more than just a cautionary tale. The townsfolk's fear is palpable, their superstitions rooted in a history of strange occurrences and unexplained disappearances. Some claim to have seen the marionettes move on their own, their strings pulled by an unseen force. Others speak of faint laughter echoing through the theater late at night, a sound that sends shivers down their spines. Detective Graves' growing suspicion is fueled by a second clue discovered in the theater, a diary belonging to Victor Blackwood, the enigmatic puppeteer who vanished decades ago. The pages are filled with frantic scribbles, detailing Blackwood's descent into madness. He writes of his obsession with creating lifelike marionettes, believing he could breathe life into them. But as the entries progress, his tone shifts from ambition to desperation. He speaks of a master puppeteer, a shadowy figure who guided his work and promised him power beyond imagination. The final entry is the most chilling. Blackwood describes a ritual, a dark ceremony meant to summon the invisible puppeteer and bind its power to the marionettes. The words are cryptic, but the implications are clear. Eleanor realizes that the disappearances, the unfinished marionettes, and the legend itself are all connected. The invisible puppeteer is not just a myth. It is a force that has been manipulating events in Ravenswood for years. As she closes the diary, Eleanor feels the weight of the mystery pressing down on her. The theater, once a place of wonder, now feels like a stage set for something far more sinister. The marionettes, the legend, and the diary all point to a truth that is darker than she ever imagined. With each clue, the pieces of the puzzle fall into place, but the final picture is one that fills her with dread. The invisible puppeteer is real, and its game is far from over. Now turning to the diary's secrets, Detective Eleanor Graves carefully examines the worn pages of Victor Blackwood's journal, each entry a window into the mind of a man consumed by his craft. The early pages are filled with meticulous sketches and notes, detailing his relentless pursuit of perfection in creating lifelike marionettes. Blackwood writes of his belief that he could transcend the boundaries of art and reality, that his creations could one day move and breathe as if alive. His words are tinged with both pride and obsession, a man driven by a vision that bordered on madness. As Eleanor reads further, the tone of the diary shifts. Blackwood begins to speak of a master puppeteer, a shadowy figure who appeared to him in dreams and whispered secrets of a power beyond human comprehension. This mysterious guide promised Blackwood the ability to bring his marionettes to life, but at a cost. The entries grow darker, filled with cryptic references to rituals and sacrifices. Blackwood's handwriting becomes erratic, his words more desperate, as if he was struggling to hold on to his sanity. The final entry is the most unsettling. Blackwood describes a ritual, a ceremony that would summon the invisible puppeteer and bind its power to the marionettes. The details are vague, but the implications are clear. This was no mere performance. It was a dark pact, a way to channel an otherworldly force into the lifeless dolls. Eleanor's heart races as she realizes the connection. The disappearances, the unfinished marionettes, the eerie movements of the strings, it all points to this ritual. The invisible puppeteer is not just a legend. It is a force that has been manipulating events in Ravenswood for years, and the missing children may be part of its sinister design. With this revelation, Eleanor feels a chill run down her spine. The theater, once a place of wonder and artistry, now feels like a trap, its walls closing in around her. The marionettes, frozen in their lifelike poses, seem to watch her with hollow eyes, as if they know the truth she is uncovering. The diary has given her a glimpse into the darkness that lies at the heart of Ravenswood, but it has also raised more questions than answers. Who is the master puppeteer? What is the true nature of the ritual? And most importantly, how can she stop it before another child is taken? As she closes the diary, Eleanor knows that time is running out. The pieces of the puzzle are falling into place, but the final picture is one of unspeakable horror. The invisible puppeteer is real, and its game is far from over. With the next phase of the journey in sight, Eleanor steels herself for what lies ahead, determined to uncover the truth and put an end to the nightmare that has haunted Ravenswood for far too long. Now turning to the second suspect, Detective Eleanor Graves shifts her focus to Margaret Dawes, the town's librarian and a former assistant to Victor Blackwood. Margaret is a quiet, unassuming woman, known for her deep knowledge of Ravenswood's history and her peculiar fascination with the Marionette Theater. As Eleanor begins to dig deeper, she learns that Margaret was once a trusted confidante of Blackwood, privy to the secrets of his craft and the darker aspects of his work. Margaret's connection to the theater is more than just professional. She speaks of the marionettes with a strange reverence, as if they are more than mere objects. Her eyes light up when she describes their intricate designs, but there is something unsettling in her tone, a hint of obsession that Eleanor cannot ignore. As their conversation progresses, Margaret reveals fragments of the theater's past, including Blackwood's descent into madness and his final, desperate attempts to complete the ritual. But it is what Eleanor discovers next that raises her suspicions. Hidden in the back room of the library, she finds a collection of marionettes, each one eerily resembling a child who has gone missing from Ravenswood over the years. The craftsmanship is unmistakable. These are the work of Victor Blackwood, or perhaps someone continuing his legacy. Margaret claims they are mere keepsakes, reminders of the town's tragic history, but Eleanor isn't convinced. The resemblance is too precise, the timing too coincidental. As Eleanor pieces together the evidence, she begins to question Margaret's true motives. Was she merely preserving the past, or was she actively involved in the disappearances, the marionettes, the ritual, the invisible puppeteer? It all seems to circle back to Margaret in ways that are impossible to ignore. With each passing moment, Eleanor feels the weight of the mystery pressing down on her, the lines between ally and suspect blurring in the shadow of the theater's dark legacy. As the next challenge unfolds, Eleanor knows she must confront Margaret directly, but the stakes are higher than ever. The truth is close, but so is the danger, and the invisible puppeteer's game is far from over. Now turning to the hidden workshop, Detective Eleanor Graves descends into the depths beneath the Marionette Theater, her flashlight cutting through the thick darkness. The air is heavy with the scent of aged wood and dust, and the faint creak of the floorboards echoes like whispers from the past. The workshop is a chaotic maze of tools, scattered sketches, and half-finished marionettes, their lifeless eyes staring blankly into the void. The atmosphere is suffused with an eerie stillness, broken only by the occasional faint sound of laughter, a chilling, distant echo that seems to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. As Eleanor moves deeper into the room, her light catches on something that stops her cold. Among the unfinished marionettes, one stands out, its features unmistakable. It is a marionette crafted in her own likeness, its face a perfect mirror of her own. The craftsmanship is unnervingly precise, the details so lifelike that it feels as though the marionette might blink or speak at any moment. A shiver runs down her spine as she realizes the implications. Someone has been watching her, studying her, perhaps even anticipating her every move. The workshop holds more than just unsettling creations. Scattered among the tools and sketches are fragments of notes, cryptic diagrams, and pages torn from Victor Blackwood's diary. These pieces of the puzzle hint at the ritual's final stages, detailing the steps needed to summon the invisible puppeteer. Eleanor's heart races as she begins to piece together the clues. The marionettes, the missing children, the ritual, it all points to a horrifying truth. The invisible puppeteer is not just a legend, it is a force tied to the very fabric of the theater, a presence that has been waiting, biding its time. As she examines the marionette that bears her face, Eleanor feels a growing sense of urgency. The ritual is nearing completion, and Lily Harper's fate hangs in the balance. The workshop, with its secrets and horrors, is a turning point in her investigation. But as she prepares to leave, the faint sound of laughter grows louder, a haunting reminder that the invisible puppeteer is always one step ahead. With the next phase of the journey in sight, Eleanor knows she must act quickly. The workshop has revealed the path forward, but it has also unveiled a danger far greater than she imagined. The invisible puppeteer's game is far from over, and the stakes have never been higher. Now turning to the ritual, Detective Eleanor Graves begins to piece together the chilling puzzle laid out before her. The fragments of Victor Blackwood's diary, the cryptic diagrams from the workshop, and the unsettling interviews with the townsfolk all converge into a single, horrifying truth. The ritual to summon the invisible puppeteer is not just a myth. It is a meticulously planned sequence of events, each step more sinister than the last. The diary reveals that the ritual requires 7 marionettes, each crafted in the likeness of a child who has gone missing from Ravenswood. These marionettes are not mere dolls. They are vessels designed to trap the essence of the children they resemble. The final step involves the creation of a marionette that mirrors the chosen child, Lily Harper. Once completed, the invisible puppeteer would use this marionette to draw Lily into its grasp, completing the ritual and bringing the spectral figure to life. Eleanor's hands tremble as she flips through the pages of the diary, her mind racing to comprehend the depth of the horror. The marionettes are not just tools, they are conduits, their strings acting as threads that bind the children's souls to the theater. The ritual is a perverse inversion of creation, turning life into art and art into a prison. The invisible puppeteer, it seems, is not merely a ghostly presence. It is a force that thrives on control, weaving its influence through the very fabric of the theater. As Eleanor connects the dots, she realizes the urgency of her mission. The ritual is nearing its final stages, and Lily Harper is the key. The marionette crafted in her likeness is almost complete. Its lifelike features a testament to the puppeteer's skill and its malevolence. Time is running out, and every second counts. The workshop, with its eerie stillness and haunting laughter, has revealed the path forward, but it has also unveiled the true nature of the invisible puppeteer's power. Eleanor knows that to stop the ritual, she must confront not just the puppeteer, but the darkness that fuels it. The stakes have never been higher, and the clock is ticking. With the next phase of the journey in sight, Eleanor steels herself for what lies ahead. The ritual must be stopped, no matter the cost. But as she prepares to leave the workshop, The faint sound of laughter grows louder, a chilling reminder that the invisible puppeteer is always watching, always waiting. The game is far from over, and the final act is about to begin. Now turning to the confrontation, Detective Eleanor Graves steps into the dimly lit theater, her heart pounding with a mix of dread and determination. The air is thick with tension, the faint creak of wooden floorboards echoing through the empty space. At the center of the stage stands Margaret Dawes, her silhouette illuminated by the flickering light of a single swaying bulb. In her hands, she holds the nearly completed marionette of Lily Harper, its lifeless eyes staring blankly into the void. Margaret's voice cuts through the silence, cold and unwavering. "You're too late, detective," she says, her tone laced with a twisted sense of triumph. "The ritual is almost complete. Victor will return, and the invisible puppeteer will finally have its due." Eleanor's mind races as she takes in the scene. The rows of marionettes lining the walls seem to shift, their wooden limbs twitching as if awakening from a long slumber. The strings above them begin to move on their own, pulled by an unseen force. The invisible puppeteer is here, its presence palpable, its influence spreading like a shadow across the room. Margaret steps closer, her eyes gleaming with a fanatical light. "You don't understand," she continues. "Victor was a genius, a visionary. He saw the potential in these marionettes, in the power they could hold. And now with Lily, I will finish what he started. The invisible puppeteer will live again, and Victor will be by my side." Eleanor's grip tightens on the flashlight in her hand, her resolve hardening. "This isn't about Victor," she counters, her voice steady despite the fear clawing at her chest. "This is about the lives you've destroyed, the children you've taken." It ends here, Margaret. As if in response, the marionettes around them jerk to life, their movements unnervingly fluid. Their wooden faces twist into grotesque smiles, their strings pulling them forward in a macabre dance. Eleanor realizes she's not just facing Margaret, she's facing the invisible puppeteer itself, its will manifesting through the marionettes. The room erupts into chaos as the marionettes close in, their movements erratic yet purposeful. Eleanor dodges their grasping hands, her mind racing for a way to stop them. She knows she must destroy the marionette of Lily, the final piece of the ritual. But Margaret stands in her way, her expression one of defiance. "You can't stop it," Margaret hisses, clutching the marionette tightly. "The invisible puppeteer is eternal. It will always find a way." Eleanor's eyes narrow as she spots a pair of scissors on a nearby workbench. With a burst of determination, she lunges for them, narrowly avoiding the marionette's reach. The room feels alive, the laughter of the invisible puppeteer echoing in her ears as she fights to reach Margaret. The final act is here, and Eleanor knows there's no turning back. The fate of Lily Harper, and perhaps the entire town, hangs in the balance. The confrontation has begun, and the stakes have never been higher. Now turning to the truth revealed, Detective Eleanor Graves stands amidst the wreckage of the theater, her breath heavy and her mind racing. The marionettes lie scattered across the floor, their strings severed and their lifeless forms now still. Margaret Dawes kneels nearby, her face a mask of despair as the weight of her actions finally crashes down upon her. Eleanor's gaze falls on the marionette of Lily Harper, its wooden face cracked and broken. She picks it up, her hands trembling as she feels the last remnants of the curse clinging to it. And then, in a moment of clarity, she understands. The invisible puppeteer was never a ghost or a demon. It was Victor Blackwood himself, his soul bound to the marionettes by his own twisted ambition. Margaret looks up, her voice barely a whisper. "I only wanted to bring him back," she says, tears streaming down her face. "He was everything to me. I thought if I finished his work, he would return." Eleanor's expression softens, but her resolve remains unshaken. "Victor is gone, Margaret," she says firmly. "What's left of him is trapped in these marionettes, feeding on the lives of innocent children. You didn't bring him back, you only prolonged his suffering." With a deep breath, Eleanor raises the scissors and begins to destroy the marionettes one by one. Each cut of the strings feels like a release, the air in the room growing lighter as the curse begins to unravel. The wooden faces splinter and crack, their hollow eyes fading into nothingness. And with each marionette destroyed, a faint, ghostly sigh echoes through the theater, as if the souls of the missing children are finally being set free. Margaret watches in silence, her hands clutching at the remnants of the marionette she once held so dear. "It's over," she murmurs, her voice hollow. "It's all over." Eleanor steps back, her heart heavy but her spirit unbroken. The curse is broken, the invisible puppeteer silenced, but as she looks around the ruined theater, she can't shake the feeling that something lingers, a faint whisper, a shadow in the corner of her eye. The laughter of the invisible puppeteer may be gone, but its echo remains, a chilling reminder that some mysteries are never truly solved. With a final glance at Margaret, now a broken shell of the woman she once was, Eleanor turns and walks out of the theater. The fog outside has lifted, the first light of dawn breaking through the trees. But as she steps into the morning air, the faint sound of laughter follows her, a haunting reminder that the invisible puppeteer may not be entirely gone. Now turning to the conclusion, Detective Eleanor Graves walks away from the ruined theater, the weight of the night's events pressing heavily on her shoulders. The town of Ravenswood, once shrouded in fear and suspicion, begins to stir as the first light of dawn breaks through the lingering fog. The curse has been lifted, the marionettes destroyed, and the souls of the missing children set free. Yet the scars of the past remain etched into the town's heart, a reminder of the darkness that once consumed it. Margaret Dawes, now in custody, sits in silence, her once fiery obsession reduced to ashes. Her fate is sealed, her actions laid bare for all to see. The townsfolk, though relieved, carry a quiet unease, knowing that the shadow of the invisible puppeteer may never fully fade. As Eleanor drives out of Ravenswood, the town fades into the distance behind her. She glances in the rear-view mirror, her reflection marked by exhaustion and resolve. Justice has been served, but the mystery of Victor Blackwood and his cursed marionettes lingers in her mind. The faint sound of laughter, though distant, still echoes in her ears, a haunting reminder that some doors, once opened, can never truly be closed. The story of the invisible puppeteer ends here, but its echoes remain, a chilling testament to the power of obsession and the price of tampering with forces beyond our understanding. As the screen fades to black, the faint sound of laughter lingers, leaving you with one final thought: some mysteries are best left unsolved. If you enjoyed this eerie tale, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more chilling stories. Until next time, stay curious, but be careful what you uncover. The shadows are always watching.